Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration. The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. Today I'm going to talk real briefly about something I've been noticing going on, and just one of those things kind of grinds my gears a little bit, and it's something I've been thinking about, so it's something we're going to talk about. Now, one of the things I want to apologize first if this is a little more echoey than usual. The room I do my recording in, we did some renovations, changed the flooring, and have not put all the furniture back in the room yet, so a lot of the stuff that is normally absorbing the sound in this room is not present as I'm recording this. So my apologies. I will edit it as much as I can to try and take out any of the reverb, but there may be some more than usual. So yeah, apologies. So here's the thing I've been thinking about. In the course of my job, I have to deal with a lot of people, particularly ones who I operate to a certain capacity as a support functionary. And in the course of that thing, I find there's a lot of times where people, for whatever reason, don't really want to own up to their responsibilities or their liabilities, however you want to look at it. They don't want to take any of the responsibility for the issue at hand. And I know, yeah, that may sound crazy to you guys. You're thinking, holy cow, Aaron, you are the host of a independent podcast with tens of listeners. You have a job? Yeah, no, really. Till all that fat podcast money starts rolling in and paying the bills, Daddy's got to go to work every day. And I don't understand why we have this mentality of, rather than just copping to what we did, to owning up to our share of the responsibility for the situation, and just saying, okay, look, my bad, let's get past this and move on. How do we fix it? How do we go forward? And it got me thinking overreaching implications of these kind of things. Because, yeah, it's normal when you're reaching out to somebody for help to get something situated. You don't want to come right out and say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know what's going on, or in any way, shape, or form, is this actually because of something I've done? This is just something that's wrong and needs to be fixed. And that's part of my job, and I'm not really bitching about that, but it got me thinking about the mentality behind it. People don't want to take responsibility for anything, and it's not just in a professional setting. It's anywhere. Anytime something happens, people today are so quick to try and say how it's not their fault, whether it's doing something dumb or inconsiderate or rude. And rather than just saying, oh, hey, sorry, people are real quick to start jumping on well, why'd you move there? What are you doing that for? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's always taking the attention off of themselves. Something as simple as bumping into somebody in the store. I had somebody literally walking backwards, not paying attention to where they're going, run into me at the store the other day, and proceed to turn around and be like, hey, what the hell? And I'm like, you ran into me, jackass. How is that my fault? You weren't watching where you were going. You walked into me backwards. I'm not going to go diving out of the way because you're an inconsiderate jackass not paying attention to what you're doing. And I'm not going to apologize because you're fucking stupid or inconsiderate or rude or whatever the logic is behind why you don't feel the need to pay attention to where you're going. So that becomes an issue for me, and part of it's a simple base lack of manners. And I've gone off on this before, and I've said it before. The problem I see with it is these days, there are so many people that are literally, they should fucking know better. They are adults. They are old enough to be out on their own and at least theoretically supporting themselves. And somehow they made it to a point in their life where they should have some common sense and some fucking manners. And they just don't. And there is no sense of accountability. There's no sense of responsibility.
I'm particularly thinking about the jackass that ran into me. I mean, this guy copped an attitude like it was my fault that he ran into me. I wasn't even moving at the time. I was a stationary target for this guy to run into. And I am not a small man by any stretch of the imaginations. If you miss me, you're really not fucking paying attention. I mean, that's kind of like, driving in a wide open parking lot and running into the only light pole in the parking lot because you're just not looking at where you're going. It's ridiculous. It's rude. And it's just fucking ignorant. And instead of just saying excuse me, which would have honestly kept me in a much more civil, calm, reasonable state of mind, I guess, as opposed to me getting slightly irate and deciding I was getting kind of fed up with this shit. So instead, I kind of implied that he needed to pull his head out of his ass and pay attention to where he was going, or if he was incapable of talking and walking at the same fucking time because that's what he was doing to keep him from paying attention to where he was going, he either needed to shut his fucking mouth or to stop moving until the conversation was over. And granted, I honestly probably could have been a little nicer in how I coached those particular suggestions. But on the other hand, he could have been watching where he was fucking going, too. And like I said, if he would have just said, excuse me, no harm, no foul, things would have been peachy, hunky-dory, no problem. But the simple fact of the matter is, he wasn't. And it got me thinking, there are so many bigger underlying issues here. I mean, the societal stance of, it's never my fault. It's never, I don't need to apologize. I don't need to be accountable. I don't need to be responsible. And then kind of hand in hand with that is like the willful leaning towards not giving a shit, towards why should I take responsibility for what I've done? Why should I be aware of the reasons why these things are unacceptable? I mean, basically, it's an act of ignorance. It's willfully and deliberately not acting right. And there's this underlying acceptance and mentality behind it where people don't see it as a problem and they don't call people out for doing this shit. And people see it. They know it's wrong. I know people are upset about these things going on. Everybody's always unhappy when it happens to them. But nobody says anything. Nobody does anything about it. We just kind of, through our own sort of quiet acceptance and allowance of these things, this shit just compounds, and it keeps getting worse, and it keeps getting more ridiculous, and it keeps getting stupider. And the dummies make more of a din and drown out the people that are actually sane and rational and have decent manners and are decent human beings. Because decent people don't fucking act like that. And unfortunately, that allows the morons to just keep multiplying and amplifying and bolstering their bullshit. And that's really just kind of the way I feel about that particular subject matter. Now, this is probably going to be a shorter episode just because there's been a lot going on. Still haven't completely gotten back to a normal course of life after the last couple of weeks. And so, to be completely honest, I haven't had time to put together well-organized and well-thought-out rants. And I feel remiss in my responsibilities to you guys. But I'm trying, and I'm doing the best I can. Now, another thing that kind of occurs to me as I'm mulling about on these issues is the simple fact of the matter that when you do see people that are doing the quote-unquote right thing, or the thing that behaving like they have some sense, maybe I'm just getting a little too cynical as I'm aging, but I often find myself wondering, now, is this somebody that legit feels this way about these issues, or is there some sort of ulterior motive? Are they trying to grandstand? Are they doing it for attention? Are they doing it for some sort of personal gain? Do they think they're going to get some sort of motivation from somebody else? Are they? And I came to a realization. If somebody is calling out bullshit behavior, I don't care why they're doing it, as long as they're calling out the right things. Now, I'm not saying people should be running around swinging wild ignorance and acting like assholes and Here's a throwback for you. I don't think we should all be out there acting like we're all on an episode of Jerry Springer, cussing at each other and throwing chairs. But frankly, if you see somebody being a rude jackass, even if it's not to you, there's really no harm in calling them out on it. And yeah, they may get all bent out of shape. They may get all in your face. They may get all yelly and defensive and all this other shit. But at the end of the day, realistically, who cares? I mean, really, if the person isn't directly involved in your life, if they aren't a major influence in your day and they're being shitty to another human being, it really shouldn't take too much for you to say, hey, that's shitty, don't do it. And we don't do that anymore. When I was a kid, and I swore to myself when I was younger I would never do this old man rambling bullshit like, back in my day, things were better and the world was a happier, simpler place. And realistically, but the fact of the matter is, 30, 40 years ago, if you were young and acting that way in public, you would get scolded by adults. You would get yelled at by any grown-up that saw you acting like a jackass because you were acting like a jackass. And somewhere along the lines, I'm not going to go around trying to tell people how to raise their kids, but I will call out bad behavior if I see it in public. But I don't really blame the kids. I call out the fucking parents. And when they get indignant and start screaming at me about don't tell me how to raise my kid, I'll tell them, do it fucking right then. People like you are the reason why this country and this world is going to shit. And I'm not trying to say that sounding like some red hat wearing asshole or anything else. The simple fact of the matter is, it's the truth. Objectively, as much progress as we make in regards to social and individual rights as far as treating people equally, we have lost so much when it comes to the terms of not acting like rotten fucking people. Just the sheer degree of douchebaggery that is accepted and allowed to happen these days is ridiculous. I'm really thankful that I grew up when I did, because if I'd have grown up today, I swear to God, I would probably be one of those people that you were reading about in some sort of news article, because I wouldn't be able to handle being peers with these assholes. As it sits, I don't consider a lot of these people my peers because they fucking don't know how to act. And I've been called a lot of things over the course of my life. Some of them accurate, some of them not so much. A lot of them based on people who make assumptions on the fact that because I'm calling them out, I must automatically be a horrible human being because I don't see eye to eye with you on something. And if anybody's new, you can go back and check the old episodes. And if you've been listening for a while now, God bless you. Thank you for coming back over and over again and listening to me rant and rave and piss and moan. But the simple fact of the matter is, I don't give a fuck. It's the philosophy I subscribe to. I don't care. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, I'm not gonna give you any shit for living your best life and doing things how you need to live to make yourself happy. As long as you're not doing it at anyone else's expense. Rock and roll. Do you. Love who you love. Be who you want to be. Do what you want to do. As long as you're not doing any harm to anyone else, more power to you. I support you fully.
My fellow citizens, our Earth is in the middle of a crisis, plunging deeper into chaos. And though I feel your pain and your loss, we can't stand idly by and let this happen. We must rise up and... Sorry. Damn it. Well, this is awkward. Hi, my name is Josh Shell, and I am the host of the Let's Start a Cult podcast, where each episode, myself and some guests take a look at different cults from around the world, for educational purposes only, and definitely not to start our own cult. Join me every other week as we break down dangerous religious cults, political extremist groups, and every other kind of cult in between. Should I apologize for the terrible southern accent? No? Okay. Subscribe and listen to Let's Start a Cult anywhere you listen to podcasts.
But the problem is, a lot of people are taking this the wrong way and looking at it in the context of, I'm entitled to do whatever I want and whatever makes me happy, regardless of the fucking consequences and how it impacts anyone around me. And it's not a matter of personal liberty or personal rights or anything else, because you can't have rights without having responsibilities. The two go hand in hand. You can't have all the privilege and all the entitlement without bearing the responsibility that goes with having the rights to make those actions and make those decisions. If you can't handle that, well, basically, developmentally, you're still a child. You are immature. You are not a fully developed person. If you want to stomp around acting how you think you deserve to act, regardless of how it impacts other people, you're inconsiderate, you're selfish, and you're a fuckstick. You are more or less a reprehensible human being if you are of a mature physical age and you have developed to the point where you should know better. If you've been on this earth long enough and interacted with enough fucking people to realize your shitty behavior impacts other people in a negative way and you just don't fucking care, then you are part of the problem. You are a miserable son of a bitch that is making the world a worse place. And no matter how much you beat your chest and how much you want to talk about rights and freedoms and you deserve to be acknowledged and you deserve to be recognized, you and me aren't the same. And I'm not going to treat you as my equal if you're going to act like a juvenile shithead. I'm going to treat you like the child that you're behaving like, and I don't give a damn if you're 45 fucking years old when you're doing it. If you want to stomp around acting like a spoiled, entitled brat, I'm going to treat you like a spoiled, entitled fucking brat. I'm not going to bend over for you. I'm not going to do anything to spare your feelings or make you feel better, because ultimately, I don't give a fuck if you're happy or not. I mean, I want everyone to be happy. I do, but I don't believe that I can provide happiness to anyone directly. Happiness is an internal thing. It's a decision. It's a choice. You're going to either be happy or you're going to not be happy. And thinking everyone else has to go out of their way to accommodate you so you can be happy is, like I've said, it's very selfish, but it's also fucking unrealistic. It's stupid, because if you aren't going out of your way to accommodate anyone else, what in the actual fuck makes you think anybody's going to go out of their way for you? Respect and responsibility, it's a two-way street. It's not, and you're not entitled to respect. Respect is earned. You're not entitled to just have whatever you want because you think you deserve it. And that's, I think everyone deserves the right to earn respect. I think earning respect shouldn't really be that hard, in that it shouldn't be so difficult to be a person worthy of respect. It shouldn't be so difficult to be a decent human being. All decent human beings deserve respect. If you treat other people halfway decently, if you treat people fairly, if you're not a self-contained, selfish shithead, then you deserve respect. If you act right, if you act like you have common sense, if you act like you have common decency, then you deserve respect. If you're just your average everyday fucking Joe, you get up, you go to work, you go through your daily routine, you don't do anything to make anybody else's life shitty, you're not a deliberate prick to anybody, you don't walk around shitting on people just to make yourself feel better because you're not happy with the way your life worked out, yeah, then you deserve some respect. But if you're a petty, whining, sniveling, entitled little shithead who basically thinks the world owes them something and everyone has to acknowledge how exceptional you are just for existing, well, then you can go fuck yourself with a sandpaper dildo. And I hope it chafes, and I hope it burns, and I hope you sweat a lot while you're doing it so it stings. And realistically, those people, they probably don't listen to this. They'll probably never hear me say it unless I come across them in the street, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, these ain't microphone muscles. I'll talk the same shit to your face that I'll talk to you if I don't see you. And realistically, the people like that, they I don't know if they have some sort of sense of self-preservation, but they generally tend to avoid me. And when they don't, and they go into conniptions because I have not acknowledged how much more significance their happiness is than common decency or treating other people like they deserve to be treated, they fly off the handle, and it's fantastic because I'll sit there and weather it like, a stone Buddha. You're gonna rant and rave and scream and shout, and I'm just gonna sit there and look at you. And I'm not going to acknowledge that you're fantastic or that you're so much more special than everybody else. I'm going to look at you like the tantrum-throwing child you are. And when you've had your say and screamed and yelled and ranted and told me what a bastard I am for not treating you as special as you deserve, I'm going to look at you and shrug and go, why? And you're going to fly off the handle, and you're going to start ranting and raving about how you deserve respect and you deserve all this, and you will be acknowledged as the fantastic fucking thing you are. And I'll just say it again. Why? What have you done that merits this treatment? What makes you better or more important than anyone else that's walking around that your arrogant bullshit is impacting? Why do you deserve to be treated special? I mean, I know we don't have a well-organized social mindset towards us anymore. If you just look at the people that are treated like they're special or like they're important, you have a culture where we make people famous literally for fucking nothing. And we have elevated people that realistically don't contribute anything in the scheme of things other than their opinions and entertainment. We have made people that amuse us somehow into role models when realistically we should just be treating them as the amusement that they are. We don't need to be taking social conscience and guidance from people that got famous for doing some shady shit, or got famous for pretending to be something they're not, or got famous for doing something with a little ball or a big ball or any other ball. That does not give you any kind of moral guidance. It does not give you any kind of special insight into the way the fucking world works. And in particular, any of these instant overnight celebrities, like fad celebrities or YouTube stars or any of that other crap. I didn't see the recent fight without going into a lot of details. If you know anything about the internet or fights, you know which one I'm talking about. I'm not trying to piggyback off of that or get anybody's attention by shouting out names, but I'm really glad it turned out the way it did, because just a little reminder, stay in your fucking lane there, Bubba. And that's all I'm going to say about that, but except for maybe a And in the meantime, we've got all these societal bullshit things happening. We've got things going sideways on a pretty much daily basis. People treating each other like shit. People trying to say that somehow their stance is the most important one, and if they're not getting their respect, the world's a terrible and shitty place. But they're not reciprocating. They're not doing anything to merit that respect. And in a tangential train of thought to this statement, people also need to understand that anything you don't have direct control over in your life, yeah, those are things that you should not be judged by. You should not be treated differently according to those things. But I hate to tell this to you, those things are also not a substitution for having an actual personality or some sort of actual mentality beyond trying to identify as I am X, and you will acknowledge that, and that should tell you everything you need to know about me. The trivial shit that is beyond your control is not how you should define yourself. That's part of the problem, is the people that are shitting on you for whatever issue you are being shat upon for are defining you by that thing. Do not try and tie who you are and your worth as a human being into those same fucking things. Yes, you have to deal with shit because of factors that are beyond your control and things that you can't handle about how your life worked out. I understand that. I acknowledge that. I am a full supporter of people based on their merit and what kind of a human being they are. And those are the only things I care about. Those are the only criteria I hold. Are you a decent human being, or are you a fuckstick? That's pretty much it. All the other boxes that people feel the need to tick and check. And I'm not saying this in any way trying to devalue those people. What I am saying is you need to define yourself by more than just the boxes. If you're constantly complaining about society putting you in a box and about people making assumptions based on all these things, you have to make sure you are not putting yourself in a fucking box at the same time. Do not define yourself by these things. Do not define your worth based on intangibles that you have no control over. Do not define your worth by what other people are using to put you in a fucking box, to say you are worth less than they are. Because if that's all you are and that's all you can point to and say, this is who I am, you're missing the boat. You're missing the point. You need to really sit down and have a good think. Make yourself a cup of tea. Find a shady spot. Go find a tree to sit under. Just look within. Find your Zen thing. Find your chi. Find your happy place. Find your quiet place. Whatever analogy or euphemism or whatever you want to call it that you need to get your shit dialed in. You need to do this. You need to sit down and reach within yourself and find out who you actually fucking are. And part of that is, to bring this in a roundabout way back to the original concept, this is, you need to take responsibility. You need to own your shit. When you don't know what's going on, when you need help, when you need guidance, when you need a hand, when you need someone to help you figure something out or define something, the first step in that is owning that you don't know what you're doing, owning that you fucked up, owning that you did something that was inconsiderate. You have to own it. You have to own who you are before you can know who you are. You have to own what you do. You have to own how you are impacting other people's lives. And until you do that, you're just going through the motions, and you're behaving as a child would. You are not approaching life in an adult manner. You're not doing things in a mature way. And I don't give a nickel-plated fuck how old you are or how much shit you've been through. If you are still doing things based on a me mentality, you can be 75 years old. If all you think about is me, you're a fucking child. You're just in a different size diapers at that point. And for now, that's what I had to say.
Thanks for listening to another episode of I Had to Say It. If you liked what you heard, leave a review, give us a follow, give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what you heard, leave a review, give me a follow, give me some feedback. I'll try and fix it. Check us out on all the social media platforms. At I Had to Say It podcast is the trigger for all that stuff, for the search term. And if you want, check out the website, www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There's links to people that have been involved with the program, things I've talked about. There are some links available for some merch that we're working on, and there are ways to contact us there as well. And thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.